I'm here today with Nova, who is one of the coolest Warframes in my opinion, and I absolutely love Nova's deluxe skin. I think it looks amazing. So here I'm going to be showing some cool synergy in Nova's kit, a very useful Helminth ability for one of her builds that I really like, but I didn't usually run it too often solo for various reasons. So this is I think it's a pretty interesting build because it kind of incorporates synergies with pretty much the entire loadout, from the frame to the primary, secondary, melee. So let's get into it. So this is essentially a pretty standard Speedva build, with the exception that I did put on Resonator. And so this is from Octavia. And one of the problems I've always had with Speedva is that it's extremely nice for defense missions, for survival missions, anything where you want to get enemies to you faster. Speedva is just amazing. You can speed up the enemies. The problem is that when you speed up their movement speed, that also includes their attack speed. And so, with power donation, which isn't going to show up in the arsenal here, you are at, oh, it actually does when you're in the simulacrum, interesting. You are at a really low power, and you're making enemies go real quick. So, yeah, that can be a problem. You can get killed really fast, even through shield gating. So this is pretty standard Speedva, Got power donation, overextended. I love prime sure-footed. If you don't have this, you can just use normal sure-footed. Enemy radar, handspring is really amazing. Any of those utility mods are that are great in the Exilus. DE, please make natural talent an Exilus mod. Um, Pretty much as much duration as possible. Adaptation. Honestly, this isn't really necessary. You don't really need this. You could probably fit flow in this slot instead, and you can kind of just rely on shield gating. This is just more or less a stock Speedva build, so you can fit flow in there instead. Synth reflex, and so another mod that would go really great here would be vigorous swap. I don't really have the polarity set up, and if I change this polarity, it would mess up one of my other builds. So I do need to maybe make another Nova Prime. I have a pillage build that runs blind rage here, so don't really want to give up the Matter Eye polarity. But yeah, vigorous swap would be a really excellent alternative to synth reflex. The set bonus is also kind of nice. I run a couple pieces on my sentinel. So yeah, pretty standard stuff. Augment, arcane energize for the energy. If you don't have energize, you probably want to swap overextended into here, run primed flow, potentially drop augur message for streamline. It's energy management. It's all about what your playstyle is, how much you're using your abilities. It's always a little frustrating for me when I see people show builds and they have a rank 5 energize. And I think a lot of people that have played for a long time kind of forget how much of the energy economy Arcane Energize solves for you. Like, just running Energize is sufficient for a lot of builds, whereas if you don't have that, you do have to run stuff like Flow, Streamline, not Fleeting Expertise, because Nova really likes duration. I'm also using a Death Cube on this build with the Augment. That's another way to generate energy. There's Arcanes for Zaws for heavy attack builds that you can use to generate energy. Obviously, there's the Xenuric Focus School, which I'm also leveraging here. So there are a lot of other ways to generate energy besides Energize. So use those if you don't have that. I'm also running Arcane Pistolier. This is not necessary for this build to work. It's just kind of nice to have. It definitely works without Pistolier. You can also use any other pistol mod. arcane. Honestly, a lot of arcanes would work in this build. I just personally really like Pistolier. I think it's very fun. So I know you have to farm arbitrations, which kind of stinks, but it's kind of worth it. So we have our weapons. So one of these is a very tried and true Nova weapon, the Exorgis. The Exorgis is absolutely fantastic on Nova for a very specific reason, where the Exorgis does so much stinking damage that one Exorgis shot can blow up or can fully charge your Antimatter Drop. And that's really, really nice. It just feels really good on Nova. You toss out your Antimatter Drop, you shoot your Exorgis, it's ready to go. I chose to take off Nova's 3 because I wanted to use Antimatter Drop. Obviously, you could replace her 2 instead, but that kind of changes some of the build, and you'll see that in the playstyle. So the Exorgis, I am running a Riven. I could take this off. Let me see if this is doing anything. So it's damage and toxin. Let me see if this will... I don't think it'll mess this up too bad if I do this. So it does add a lot of damage. So I can do this testing without the Riven. So AccuCore, this does not have a Riven, does have some primed mods. Definitely try to get these from Barrow when they show up. Very, very good to have for secondaries. So this is, your pretty standard secondary build. You got your Hornet Strike, you got your Barrel Diffusion, you got your crit chance, crit damage, viral heat, very standard. A key part of this build is some way to reload while your weapon is holstered. And so the reason for that is the AccuCore, and you'll see this when we start testing, the AccuCore has a really interesting mechanic where when you get kills, you shoot out these energy tendrils, and they kind of automatically go out and seek out targets. And that's really great, except they go away, so you get 1 per target killed, I believe up to 4. Problem is those go away when you reload manually. They do not go away if you reload the weapon through something like Eject Magazine or the Synth weapon set, or the Synths mod set. So there are ways to reload your weapon without actually reloading it, and so you keep those tendrils. So it's kind of similar to a Kuva Nucor in some regards. It does kind of like a nice widespread status application. I kind of like the AccuCore on Nova because it's a little easier to hit enemies that are more spread out. So kind of the playstyle is you get your tendrils going on your AccuCore, you're switching between your AccuCore and your Exorgis. When you use your AccuCore, you can kind of tag a bunch of targets, put a bunch of viral on them. My Sentinel is applying corrosive, so you're stripping their defenses, debuffing them. You shoot out Nova's Antimatter Drop, you hit it with Exorgis, blows up, does a ton of damage. So and then the Zaw I'm using, so this is a pure condition Zaw, or condition overload status based Zaw. The Riven is not, it's adding, it's not too crazy. I don't really actually use this for damage too much. I'm mostly using this for Exodia Hunt, which is a really nice utility arcane. And so this pulling enemies into melee range is really great. So against low level stuff, or against stuff you can still kill with Antimatter Drop, you can group things up, shoot out your Antimatter Drop, shoot your Exorgis, it explodes, they die. For Steel Path, you do kind of have to make sure you're, applying viral and corrosive to things as much as possible. But it's a really fun playstyle. So I'm not saying this is necessarily the best Nova build, but I personally find it to be really, really enjoyable. This is the same, like there's literally nothing, like you can just ignore all of these mods. I just run this for energy generator. And the Hellstrom, I would highly advise getting the Hellstrom. That thing is really nice for applying status effects, and it lets your Death Cube tag a lot of enemies, so it gets a lot of assists, and it's constantly giving you those energy orbs. I'm not running Streamline or Flow, so I really wanted to have, the Death Cube. You can also run a Smida, you can run a Vulpaphyla, you can run whatever you want. Test things out, change it as you will. I'm also running Xenuric for the energy gen. Honestly, don't really need it that much. I probably could run Naramon, but I don't really use my melee enough in this build to justify running like a Blood Rush melee with Naramon. So if you wanted to take this to like extremely high levels, you would probably, you know, do the more meta thing of running a new core with like Cronin Prime and Naramon. But the basic concept of the build, of the actual Nova build, would be, you know, stay the same. So why is Resonator so nice on Nova? So let me unpause the AI here. So these are 145 heavy gunners. And so even with my, you know, Null Star mostly maxed up, these things are going to kill me. So okay, now shield gating is down. Okay, they're being really slow for some reason. So basically they do a lot of damage. I don't know why they're being a little slow there. However, if you throw out Resonator, yeah, they just chase it around really fast. So you can kind of just do whatever you want. Yeah, which is really nice. And so here we can kind of like I'm gonna run out, so I gotta like switch to something else, use my Aki core again. So yeah, it's, and then you know you'll eventually get the four tendrils on the Aki core. It's a little hard to actually see them, but you can kind of just like, you know, just aim in the vague direction of enemies, and you know they'll take a lot of status. So one thing with Antimatter Drop is you can kind of direct it with your aiming reticle, so that's pretty nice. You see how it's like I can direct where it's going. So that's one thing I didn't learn about Nova for like the longest time. All right, see now I'm in trouble. My Resonator went down. They started shooting me again. So why is this nice? In survival missions, you want enemies to come to you, right? You want to be killing them so you can maintain life support. In defense missions, you want enemies running to you faster so you can finish waves faster. It's more efficient. Nova is a very meta frame, especially for parties, because she can do this kind of stuff. Now we can go into an actual mission. Check this out. And it's really nice. It's I've always run Slova, or at most like a neutral speed. So if you just run power donation, they'll have no, you know, increase or decrease on their speed, because they would do so much more damage, right? Honestly, another option, instead of adaptation, you could definitely run rolling guard. That would be a really great option in this build. Honestly, I just felt so safe as long as I wasn't being silly and, you know, falling asleep and forgetting to keep my Resonator up. Because you can just recast Resonator whenever, which makes it really, really easy to use. And so if I was making sure I kept my Resonator up, I was really having no issues surviving. So I'm gonna do the Nova stuff and the, you know, Octavia stuff. Put that up, and just start, you know, shooting away with the Aki core. Got things tagged up, and there we go. You know, nice boom boom explosions. Like I said, this is not like a super meta build. This is not the best Nova build by a long shot. I'm never gonna claim that, but I do think it's really, really fun. Just like seeing those enemies explode like that, even in Steel Path, is like, man, it is satisfying. And you know, honestly, the Rollerball AI is not too bad. You know, I kind of wish that some of like the AI in other parts of the game was as good as the Rollerball AI. So yeah, I will say Arcane Pistolier makes this build much more fun. It is not necessary. More fun for sure, not required. One thing that's really funny, so you can see Pistolier is active. So the Exorgist doesn't really have a fire rate limit, or it basically has infinite fire rate. It just has a long reload time, and it has a magazine of 1. So if you don't have to reload the Exorgist, then it looks like this. Because Arcane Pistolier, even though you have to trigger it off secondaries, you can still use it use its the ammo efficiency on a primary, which is frankly, hilarious. So yeah, I mean, it kills stuff pretty nicely even on Steel Path. And one of the huge benefits of Speedva is you're bringing enemies to you so quickly, and you don't have to worry about dying like at all. And that is just super nice on Nova. And another thing is, you're getting the extra damage from your molecular prime, and you're basically just attracting enemies to this roller ball of death. And yeah, it is just very fun. I've been having a ton of fun with this build. I hopefully I tried to kind of give some options for places you could replace things. I know some of the things in this build are like a little hard to farm. Even just like the Occucore and the Exorgis are kind of hard to farm. But those are really fun weapons. So I know it's kind of a pain doing Fortuna stuff, but it's worth it. And man, it is just so satisfying. Oh my goodness. Like, I don't even care like how efficient this is. It is just like a really, really, really fun playstyle. And so yeah, the Occucore, you can kind of just like schlop it out there and just like point in the vague direction of enemies. And yeah. And so I took my Rivens off for this. So this is no Rivens or anything. Oh, they stole my weapon. You silly grenade. And so your Zaw, you can do stuff like, oh, it's not gonna proc, not gonna proc. There we go, finally procced. So yeah, you can do stuff like that. You know, circle the wagons with the Grineer, and I have never felt so safe as in the hands of this little rollerball. This thing is pretty great. So, hopefully that was a decent demonstration on Nova. Nova is a really, really good frame. I've talked to a lot of people that have never tried Nova, and I think that's a shame. She is very fun. I think there's probably many other really great Helminth builds with her. This is the one that I was trying out. I've also tried out Pillage. That was super fun. But yeah, I love loadouts where you're using multiple weapons, you're swapping between stuff. Like it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing with Nova with Helminth. Give it a shot. I will say, like, this idea of using Nova with Exorgis is pretty old. Like it's kind of like a tried and true strategy with Nova. Um, I think the Occucore thing I saw on Reddit like a long time ago. I saw somebody messing around with Pistolier and Occucore. Um, so that kind of gave me the idea for this. Just want to give credit where credit is due. Honestly, don't remember their name or anything, but I did see that way back in the day. And once Helminth came out, I thought, wow, Speedva with Resonator might be a really good combo with that. So yeah, hopefully I gave some build options. You can definitely like change the weapons around if you want. This is kind of just like the basic template for something. And I just thought it was really cool that I was actually able to use like a Nova Antimatter Drop build in Steel Path. I didn't really think that was going to work, but it was actually pretty effective. So try it out, try variations on it, mess around. Making builds in Warframe is super fun. So yeah, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.